Hello, today, here at the Proving Grounds backlog. Well, instead, looking at something else that isn't the backlog. We're going to take a blast from my past and take a look at Azure Dreams, also known as Otherlife Azure Dreams in Japan. A old PlayStation Konami game. This was my introductory to a Rogue style game, or for those more familiar with the Japanese versions of most Rogue type games, a Magic Dungeon game. So Azure Dreams is a PlayStation game that came out in the astounding year of 1998 in North America and 1997 in Japan. It also, interestingly enough, had a slightly, it's kinda hard to say, put simply, it had a Game Boy Color port that was stripped down but also expanded on at the same time. But I'll get into those elements as we get into the PlayStation games. So, what I found really compelling about Azure Dreams over a lot of Rogue games, especially if you ever hear me rant about Rogue games in modern indie games, is that you feel like you have a lot of things to do. You have a town you can expand and invest money in to help build up, help your own family's house build up, get in relationships, save people, meet new people, and of course, the main goal of the game, to reach the top of the monster tower that rests before the town. But to give a little background, so you live in a little town in the desert that's right by a mysterious tower that is just a breeding nest grounds for monsters. It became a very interesting point for hunters and treasure seekers, for mysterious monster eggs could be found inside and tamed and raised as allies to help further explore more. You are the son of this town's greatest monster tamer who mysteriously dies, or I guess to be more accurate, goes missing and is really unknown whether he's alive or dead. You wait until your 15th birthday, keep in mind, Japanese games, so, the adult age is considered a little younger. For you weirdos who want to be inappropriate to culture. Anyway, you wait until your 15th birthday to where you, considered an adult, can enter the tower and find out the mysteries that lie in it. To find witches to make your family move out of its poverty. And, well, just do whatever the fuck you want at that point. This is a Magic Dungeon Rogue elements and Pokemon all mashed together with sim elements. And oh boy, when I said looking for a relationship, did I mention waifu wars? Oh yes. This is a very waifu infested game as well for the 90s. Way before it became infested in all of anime. So there's a lot to do and a lot of things that motivate you to keep going, and believe me, if it wasn't like playing the Game Boy Color version of the game really reminds me of Persona 3 The Answer, where you took so many core concepts of the main game out that it kind of made it hard to play. The things the Game Boy Color version have taken out is the waifu wars. There's no relationship system, though a few characters still from the main game do appear, but many are also gone, though there are a few new characters too. The story does mainly play out the same in the tower. You can expand a few things, and the big thing that got expanded was the fact there was more to the story after the PlayStation game story. So you can do the storyline of the PlayStation game and find a whole new story right after. But it's kind of a slog. I mean, it is a Game Boy Color. As amazing as it is to have some really deep rogue dungeon crawler game on a Game Boy Color, it's obviously not very pretty or very interesting to look at. So, if that bothers you, that's definitely going to be a killer. I find the PlayStation game a lot nicer to look at, but most important, like I said, there are many other things to do besides just go in the tower itself. That's your main goal, and that's where you're going to spend most of your time. But there are other things you can do, hang out, and have some enjoyment on the side. But with the Pokemon familiar system you got, your monsters are primarily controlled by AI system, but you can directly control them as well. So if you want to be nitty gritty with all the actions, you get to do that too. They're all elemental types with weaknesses and strength. Different monsters have different abilities, unique traits that can assist you. So there's a lot of interesting elements. And if you're familiar with a lot of Japanese Magic Dungeon type games, this has the dreaded rust system too. So, you know, better pick out the weaponry that doesn't rust because it's a plague in this game. No, seriously, it is. But it is a very charming little game that I played when I was young, and it took me a really long time to fucking beat it ever, but I did eventually beat it. I did a long time ago, but it took a lot of time, devotion, and it just mind-boggling, man. Though probably the most disappointing part of the game, especially for the PlayStation 1 game, as it doesn't have more content after the top of the tower, is the fact that it's kinda anticlimactic at the end, but that would be going to spoilers, and we won't go into that quite yet. But you do have many magical items, weaponry, swords, throwable orbs, things that increase stats, monster stats, and that. And like many, if you're familiar with Magic Dungeon style games in Japan, the character returns to a level 1, meaning their equipment is how they progress. However, your monsters do not de-level upon re-entry of the tower and retain the levels. So for a good portion of the game, you're going to be relying on your monsters to be able to get higher in the tower. But eventually you'll want your gear to be allowing your character to essentially progress the early stages of the level, trying to preserve your monsters, because having them out consumes their MP, so having them out makes it where you're going to not have them in the long term. So when you make your eventual climb for the top, you're going to want to try and preserve them as long as possible, because you need them in for those last few levels, because believe me, some of those monsters near the top are real killers. That's a terrible joke, by the way. If you actually played this game, you know what I'm talking about. Overall, though, I would highly recommend getting Azure Dreams. Sadly, as far as I'm aware of, it's not available digitally, oddly enough, as far as I'm aware of, according to what I've looked into, which is a bit of a shame. Luckily, a physical copy does not go for very much. If you want a complete copy, you might have to pay around the $50 mark of that, or maybe a little bit more, but a loose copy is usually going to be about 20 bucks of that. I can definitely full-heartedly recommend the PlayStation version if you're into Rogue or Magic Dungeon style games. And as far as I know, there's not really any other game that really dealt with this kind of level, aside from one other game Konami themselves made. Taio's Eventual Course of the Demon Seal for the DS. This game is I'm not sure, I can't remember if it takes place in the same universe. I think it does. I'm not 100% sure, but either way, it is a spiritual successor, if not in story. It is definitely a a spiritual sequel for sure, though. But I do think it took place. I did play some of it. It had a long ass, boring opening. The Azure Dream, you just get a bit of a warm up on what's going on. You get sent to the tower on that. So, but Tyler's Adventure takes forever to get started, and it just looks also like, I have the Azure's Dreams is old in that, but it has a very nice style to it. Tyler's Adventure just doesn't have there's no style to it, like how cell shading adds like a certain aesthetic to it. Like, it looks flat, let alone many ideas. But I'm not getting into about Tyler's Adventure. That's a different topic for another day. Azur's Dreams, in my opinion, for the PlayStation's definitely worth your time. And if you don't mind the lack of the story to help drive you, and you don't mind the pure grind, the Game Boy Color version can offer you tons. You get 100 floors instead of, I believe, the original game was 40 floors, if I remember correctly. It could be a little rusty on that. But you get 100 fucking floors in the Game Boy Color game, so. But you don't get all the waifus and the cool town building. Especially the waifus, man. Those waifus. Either way, I would recommend it. I think it's a fair price. Anyway, on to what I think about the end. So, spoilers. So Azur's Dreams ending, the reason it's kind of anticlimactic is whether you actually are powerful enough to take on the boss or you can't. It basically puts you in a situation where you win anyway, so that's why I say it's kind of anticlimactic, because there's really no way to lose it unless there's some weird bug or something. Obviously the game's not perfect, so I wouldn't be surprised if there are weird bugs people might have found, but the game in its normal way is supposed to let you to win regardless of whether you're strong enough to live or not. So, it doesn't really have an actual final boss. So the way I always like to look at it, because, oh boy, if you didn't get my reference about those last few floors, there's a unique enemy that you can get, but I never had any luck getting one. Believe me, I tried to get one bazillion times. Is the Killer. The Killer is a very, probably one of the most dangerous fucking mobs in the high levels, because it can hit you twice in one turn, mortaling anything. Seriously, I would take sleep orbs and shit and just put them to sleep in one, fuck, instead of fighting them. They are death incarnated. But, it has its minor little flaws here. And it does play a lot of the usual rules where, if you die, you lose your shit and stuff. But hey, that's part of WoW type games. That's why I want let it save when you die. Gotta keep that gear going up. Yeah. Either way, that is Azur's Dreams. Fun little fact, by the way. If you into importing, the Japanese version is loaded with voice acting, oddly enough, while the American version has none at all. Very strange little bit, yeah. Aside from that, there weren't really any big differences between the American and Japanese version. There are a few minor ones, for some reason the angel is a little more anime in the Japanese version. They went with a little more realistic for the American version. Little things that's probably the biggest difference. There's not anything you would think in a censorship way that I'm aware of, at least. But to be fair, I've never watched a full playthrough of the Japanese version. Don't get to find a lot of footage of that on the internet. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Azur's Dreams. A fantastic game from my childhood. And if you've never played it, go play it. Fantastic game, in my opinion. Anywho, I just wanted to share a blast from the past. Thank you. By the way, if you're wondering about how this was recorded with the Poundland HDMI PlayStation 2 cable. Feel free to let me know what you thought of it graphically in the recording. Anyway, if you feel like you learned something new, feel free to leave a like, and if you feel like you learned nothing interesting in this video at all, please leave a dislike. Thank you. Until next time.
どうだった？私の作った朝ごはん。